This is Wale Farron. I'm a tech entrepreneur, and welcome to another episode of Tech RoundUp Talk. On this show, we go into practical discussion with a subject matter expert and explore all things technology. We do this by discussing our guests' professional background, their rise to the top, and topical issues in the industry. On Tech RoundUp today, we have the privilege of welcoming Sam Ejeh, an entrepreneur and business executive with experience in oil and gas, banking, and consumer goods industry. He's the founder of Grocery Bazaar, a retail grocery chain with now about 10 locations in Lagos. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So we've known each other for so long, dating back in the early 2000 banking days. We used to work together at Citibank. We started our career around that time. So we know the retail business and the dynamics of it, especially with grocery retail, right? The margins at times are thin. The working capital need is significant. But as far as I know, you've not really gotten, or you didn't get any external cash injection into the business. You've been able to do really well growing that business since you started. How did you do it? I mean, I'm sure people are wondering, how have you been able to build such a business with huge capital need without necessarily getting an injection into the business?
So the original, when we started, we had capital in the business originally, but we had to pay out the investor, over a period. Even I think late last year we got some extra capital as well in, but essentially we bootstrapped the business through and through. Also, you have to remember, with every business about credibility. After a while too, you understand, you start getting credibility, then it sort of ease your cash requirement, what you need, working capital needs and stuff like that. You could actually borrow, you could actually, so we did do a lot of short-term sort of borrowing and,
supply chain arrangements.
Yes, exactly, stuff like that, just to get the business going, and so that we did successfully for a while. But, as you grow bigger, your needs also increase.
Absolutely.
And I think really the decision to whether you want external capital is really going to depend on what your long-term goals are.
Okay.
If you're an entrepreneur that wants, to get out as soon as possible at some point, then you probably want to get external capital and really go big, I think it depends on what happens in that sense.
So, I mean, you've been following what's going on in the tech startup environment in Nigeria lately. A lot of funding are coming in. Entrepreneurs are faced with this question: how long do I wait for me to get funding into my business? How much equity am I giving out? Am I giving it out too early? What's your take on that? How early should an entrepreneur seek capital into their business to grow it?
Look, I think it depends. It depends. Personally, I think it depends on two things. I think one, it depends on the nature of your business.
Okay.
There's certain business that just require skill. That, it's a question of not whether you want it or not, it's really just how the nature of the business is, so certain businesses, and a lot of business these days actually require skill, so you probably want to get capital as soon as possible. But here's the trick: the idea will not be to get capital in such a way that actually, especially at the concept stage where you're still testing stuff.
Okay.
So if you could bootstrap or get capital from friends and family just to get yourself settled and get the concept ideas and everything in place, then you could get to the next phase of actually.
And that's also true, even from when you look at it from the investor's point of view.
Absolutely.
Investors are shy from putting seed money in, especially in this kind of environment where a lot of concepts are not proven.
Correct.
So it's, for entrepreneurs, it does make sense for them to
hold back,
to prove it, scale it to some extent, and it becomes more attractive to investors. I want to explore something more in your line of business, given how technology has, gotten into the space in the last few years. E-commerce, right? E-commerce, which is space I know very well. About 6-7 years ago, we went as a market on this journey that we could buy things online and not necessarily come to the brick and mortar store. I have a few questions along those lines. One, what's the impact of e-commerce on your business? Have you seen a decline? Have you seen any kind of impact with people buying online and not coming to the store? Are you seeing, what kind of dynamics are you seeing with e-commerce?
In 2008, when I came back just looking at the market, at that point, only 2% of Nigerians actually shop from supermarkets. In 2008, We're just talking about 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Today is about 10%, and this happens in major cities, by the way. Once you get out of major cities, nobody goes to the supermarket.
Where do people shop if they don't go to the supermarket?
Well, local markets, they are wet markets.
Okay.
So frankly, it used to be 2%, and the convenience stores account for a signal number, while what you call wet markets account for the balance in a way. But the point is this: it's changing. Even though it's changing, and some people come to market, the online stores are there these days, to do that. But I think the market is so fragmented, and we're just at the beginning phase in Nigeria. The infrastructure problem we have in Nigeria is also part of the problem here. Because ultimately what happens is that, they find out that, setting up a market is not that easy. Even setting up an online retail store is not that easy. There are all sorts of infrastructure, backbone issues that have not set up in the society properly, so it affects the business.
Before the show, and we were comparing the number of repeat customers that you've accumulated over the years, and we're comparing it to some of the most successful e-commerce platforms in Nigeria. And it became very apparent quickly that you have more customers. The only challenge that you and I spotted quickly was your ability to get a lot of information on your customers, so that you can use that information and data to your advantage, build loyalty, build repeat purchases and things like that, was lacking. Whereas with e-commerce, they have all the technology and the tools to do that. Is there a way, and this is moving me to my next question, is there a way you're thinking of using technology, digital platform, to be able to even run your brick and mortar store more efficiently, even if you're not going e-commerce?
So right now, as I speak to you, we are thinking about that. We've thought about a subscription model, to actually find a way to actually
subscription model.
Yes, a subscription model to allow us to actually, get customers, not even come to the store if possible, but to still serve them, right? And that's something we're thinking about. The real challenge with some of those things is that it needs to be a model that works. You could have a model that actually, make the fulfillment, you can get the stuff done, but it's not profitable. Then it becomes a challenge for the business itself to actually handle. And I think that's where the fine balance needs to be struck. Right now, the solution we have is not complete. In fact, that's the reason why we're having this conversation, right? Because I'm here to also talk about something else in line in that direction. So yes, we're trying to refine the solution to make it possible for us to actually get a subscription model that allows us to actually do that using our current brick and mortar store, but to fulfillment.
So when you say it could potentially reduce profitability if you're not careful about it, what part of that model do you think will hit more into your cost? Because I would imagine that the guys that are buying, right, if they come to your store to spend 20,000 naira on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, even if they go into subscription, I would imagine that they will still spend thereabout. So what additional cost do you envisage that this new model may add to the business and therefore reduce profitability?
So two costs. Okay, the first cost will be logistics, of course. You need to get somebody's house, and get that sorted out. In Nigeria today, for all I know people come to my store to receive goods from Jumia. They use the store as the pickup point. Now, I've always asked myself, okay, what if the driver gets there and who pays for that? I mean, and if you're trying to supply something where the margin is maybe $1,000, and the guy's already there, how many times is he going to do that? So if you're selling electronics and the margins are fat, I mean, not the margins, but the margin might not be fat, but the margin, what you call the absolute number, is big. So it lends itself to actually transporting and making changes, and it's easier. But if you're doing something, you're selling somebody groceries, then it's a little bit cheaper, and the margins are not great, and the guy gets there, doesn't find somebody, that's a challenge. I think those challenges that has to do with e-commerce itself is one end. Then there's another challenge that has to do with basically, so I talk about logistics now. Then the other part is about identity in Nigeria. One of the biggest things I've always thought about is how do I identify people? So I deal with you. So I probably use your phone number to identify you. I'm sure there's some solutions around that these days. But my main cost that I'm worried about are logistics, and then the second one will be the marketing cost, because apparently that's a new subscription service, and I suspect that you spend more trying to actually sell those sort of service, because of now in this case you have to actually get to people and say, okay, look, you understand, and make sure that it's a repeat purchase.
All right. So one of the things consideration for anyone running a business is cost of customer acquisition, right? And when you compare, I've done a bit of those analysis in the past. When you compare cost of acquisition
or e-commerce customer is astronomical. It is extremely high. For a business like yours, customers just walk in and they become your customer, right? Hopefully they come back at a later time. I'm just wondering what kind of attention you pay to the cost of acquiring a customer and keeping that customer to be a repeat customer for your business.
So our customer acquisition cost, when we started conversation in the first place, started because of, I was thinking my customer acquisition cost is high. That frankly, I need to find a way to bring it down. And I thought that was going to be a competitive advantage and find a way to get online. If I get online, then I could bring down the cost, and stuff. So my own take has always been, look, that the online, guess what? It's like having one store.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
That means that so long as you keep adding customers, your cost keeps coming down.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of actually having something online.
Yeah.
Now the problem,
the downside to that is that finding those customers,
absolutely,
it can be very expensive.
But you see, now for us, right, we have physical stores. So we're going to blend it together.
Okay.
You already have physical stores, you already have a brand, then you cannot sell that, starting from your own customers and start going out.
Yeah.
So that was the thinking, that hopefully, that would help us to actually bring down our customer acquisition cost.
Yeah.
Because we could use the existing stores as warehouses and actually do the fulfillment from those stores without necessarily setting up new locations.
So in your path to digitization, using technology to enhance your business, one of the areas that I would think, you talk about subscription model, that you have to really think about and figure out how it works is payment.
Absolutely.
How do you receive payment from those customers, especially now that with the subscription model, they don't have to physically come in to pay you cash or use other means of payment? So I want to explore that a little bit. And I want to start by saying that in the grand scheme of things, when you look at payment generally, not even just digital payments, how has payment and acceptance for you, how has it evolved? How has it changed over the last few years, if it has at all?
No, so significantly.
Okay.
So when we started Grocery Bazaar, so about 9 years ago, guess what happens? At that time, we had about 90% cash, 10% POS sales.
Okay.
Today, it's gone to about 70%, 30%.
70% cash?
30% electronic. Let's call it electronic now.
Okay.
Yeah, and then 30% cash.
Okay.
Actually, it's good. And guess what? That trend is
30% cash.
Yes, and 70% electronic.
Now
that trend is growing. That trend is moving in that direction. Every year it keeps changing. It keeps shifting in that direction.
Okay.
Here's the thing. In the past, it used to be POS, just be your card, your debit, your credit or debit card, sales, account for which it still does.
Yeah.
But what we've noticed recently is that we've seen a lot more electronic transfers, a lot more sort of other means of actually.
So I want to get into those and explore them a little bit in details. But let's talk about the 30% that are still bringing cash.
Yeah.
What do you think is responsible for that? Would you say it's the same set of customers that use cash all the time, or it just depends? What do you think is driving that 30%?
So if you ask me, I say, maybe location.
Okay.
So where we're located, some of these places are a little bit on the sub locations, a lot more. So we have a lot of people who actually
cash.
who still use cash in those places. That's changing. The trend is changing significantly, especially with young people.
Okay.
Most young people don't prefer to actually go use their cards and move on. But I still see that as, I don't think it's going to be eliminated completely.
Okay.
I think you're still going to end up maybe between 10 and 20%, still being there, as part and remain as, as a residual part of the economy. I don't think that's going to be eliminated completely.
Okay.
I think
so before we leave cash, for you, in terms of managing the cash that you receive, how have you managed to ensure that cash does not become a burden? It does not attract bad people. You don't lose it even within the organization, and your reconciliation is on point. How have you managed that? What are you using? Any tools? Are banks assisting you to manage your cash?
So what we've done, for most things we've done, actually, we've tried to simplify most of our processes and make it as simple as possible. Because you have to remember who's doing this thing. We hired some girl, who basically, finished secondary school and made her a cashier and say, you know what? Once at the end of the day, take this money to this bank and deposit it, and so it needs to be simple for her to understand.
Okay.
And to her to come back, post that money, and get reconciliation done, and then start balancing out. So at every location for us, we've had an account department in every location. Have a senior person and a junior person.
Okay.
And most of the junior person that goes to the bank that deal with the cash, the senior person does most of the reconciliation
Okay.
on electronic payment and every other sort of posting and everything.
Okay.
So that's what we've done.
All right. So let's go to the 70%.
Yeah.
That is electronic
Yeah.
payments. I would imagine that in this market, it's people pay with card through the POS
Yep.
devices. People pay with the transfer money through bank transfer. Is there any other type of electronic channel that you guys use apart from those two?
So we have this Mcash.
Okay.
But
By names.
yeah, but it never caught on. And it came back, made a second comeback, and it's still not caught on.
What was the challenge with it?
I think marketing. I don't think people ever bought into the idea completely.
Okay.
So you can imagine 737, for GT, worked pretty well, but I don't think the Mcash thing ever caught on.
Okay.
We've had different sort of, people trying different sort of things, but none of them have caught on that well.
Okay.
So predominantly, a lot of people come use the card,
Okay.
but the cards have problems.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Imagine every festive period, any festive period you can imagine, any festive holiday in this country, there's a problem. You're going to have a problem with your POS. With the
Volume
product
of
sales.
transaction goes up.
Yes, and then
There's a lot of people trying to use
so
the system at the
automatically
same
the
time.
backbone itself
Yeah.
that supports that infrastructure
Probably not
is
resilient
not
enough.
it's not resilient enough.
So as we round up, we want to learn about some of those things, the top 3 things that have contributed to your success over time. I'm sure the viewers will want to hear that as they think about their own journey as well. It's always good to look back and be able to say, oh, these are the things that really helped me, but it helps the next generation so that they don't have to go through that rigor again. So what are those 3 things that you want the viewers to learn about your journey?
I think there's no substitute for hard work.
Okay.
So look, you can't replace that with anything. You have to work like crazy. So most people get into entrepreneurship and they think, okay, it's going to be easier. It makes no, it's the opposite actually.
Okay.
You should prefer to work to really don't get into. So there's no substitute for that. I also think if you're an entrepreneur, then you need to really believe in what you're doing.
Okay.
Sometimes people get into stuff just because they see a market opportunity without actually any passion,
Okay.
because there'll be rough times, there'll be
Okay.
difficult days,
Okay.
and if you really do not believe in it, look, if those difficult days come back, you dust off your CV and you're getting a job.
Okay.
You're done. You're
Okay.
not going to continue.
Okay.
So you need to believe what you do. You need to work as hard as hell. And I think finally for me, you need to enjoy the process.
Okay.
It's a process. Most times people are looking at some target, right? And they forget that actually it's a journey. It's a
Okay.
process.
Okay.
I need to enjoy it. You're going to have difficult times, so you need to enjoy that process and keep going.
Exactly.
Most times people assume that, no, anytime you see images of entrepreneurs, it's always a nice story, right? You hear. You forget that there's a lot of difficulties behind,
Yeah.
So I always tell my guys when my team, I will tell them that, look, you know what? We're on a journey here.
Yeah.
Whatever happens,
Yeah.
we're going to go on this ride and enjoy it. It's
Enjoy
going to be a roller coaster,
Yeah.
but look, please,
let's enjoy it.
let's enjoy the roller coaster.
Okay, thanks, Sam.
Okay,
So, to the viewers, Sam says you have to be hardworking, you have to have passion for what you're doing, but I think also you have to really enjoy it. That's it for this episode of Tech Roundup Talk. We look forward to another episode where we bring another guest with a different set of experiences. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sam.